Every night at 8 o'clock, I sat by the phone. My hand rested on the table beside it. My tea grew cold. The clock ticked. And I waited. I waited for a call that hadn't come in 3 years. My son promised he would call. He promised before he left. But promises fade like photographs left in the sun. And I was left here, in this quiet house, counting the rings that never came. Some nights I wondered if he even remembered my number. My name is Dorothy. I'm 72 years old. I live alone in the same house where I raised my boy Michael. The walls still hold his laughter. The kitchen still smells like the pancakes I used to make him every Sunday morning. His room upstairs remains exactly as he left it. Bed made, books on the shelf, a baseball trophy from 5th grade sitting on the dresser. I don't go in there much anymore. It hurts too much. Michael was my only child. His father passed when Michael was just 12. A heart attack, sudden and cruel. After that, it was just the two of us. We became a team. Mother and son against the world. I worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. He studied hard, stayed out of trouble, made me proud every single day. He was a good boy. No, he was a great boy. When he graduated high school, I cried for an hour. Happy tears. Proud tears. He got accepted into a college 4 states away. A full scholarship. I was so proud I could barely speak. He hugged me tight that day and said, "Mom, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to become someone, and I'll call you every week. I promise." I believe him. Welcome to A Parent Never Forgets. If you love emotional parent and family stories, subscribe and stay with us. The first year, he called often, every Sunday evening, sometimes twice a week. We talked about his classes, his roommate, the food in the cafeteria. I told him about my garden, about Mrs. Peterson next door who kept asking about him. He laughed. He sounded happy. I was happy just hearing his voice. But then the calls became less frequent. Once a week became once every 2 weeks. Then once a month. I told myself he was busy. College is hard. He's building his future. He's young. He needs space. I didn't want to be the kind of mother who suffocated her child. So I waited. I didn't call him too much. I didn't want to be a burden. I sent him care packages. Cookies. Socks. A new scarf for winter. I tucked little notes inside. Thinking of you. Love, Mom. I never knew if he read them. Then one day, the call stopped altogether. At first, I thought maybe his phone broke. Maybe he lost my number. Maybe he was going through something and needed time. I called him a few times. It went to voicemail. I left messages. Sweet messages. Not angry. Not pushy. Just Mom messages. "Hi, sweetheart, it's Mom. Just checking in. I love you. Call me when you can." He never called back. 3 years passed like that. 3 years of silence. I didn't know if he was angry with me. I didn't know if I had done something wrong. I replayed every conversation we ever had, every argument, every moment I might have failed him. Maybe I was too controlling. Maybe I held on too tight after his father died. Maybe he resented me for working so much. Maybe he blamed me for something I couldn't even remember. The not knowing was the worst part. I asked his college once. They said he graduated 2 years ago. He had moved. They couldn't give me his address. Privacy rules. I understood, but it felt like another door closing in my face. I hired someone online to find him. It cost me $300 I didn't really have. They found an address. An apartment in a city I'd never been to. I wrote him a letter. I poured my heart into that letter. I told him I loved him. I told him I missed him. I told him I just wanted to know he was okay. I never heard back. That's when I started waiting by the phone every night at 8. I don't know why 8 o'clock. It just felt right. It was the time we used to eat dinner together when he was young. The time we used to talk about our day. It became my ritual. My little thread of hope. Every night, I made myself a cup of tea. I sat in the chair by the phone, and I waited. Sometimes I imagined what I would say if he called. I practiced it in my head. I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't cry. I would just say, "Hi, sweetheart. I'm so glad to hear your voice." I would keep it light. I would let him talk. I wouldn't ask why he stopped calling. I would just be grateful. But the phone never rang. My friend Barbara told me I needed to let go. She said I was torturing myself. She said Michael was an adult now, and if he wanted space, I had to respect that. She meant well, but she didn't understand. A mother's love doesn't have an off switch. You can't just stop caring. You can't just stop hoping. Even when it hurts. Even when the silence feels like a weight pressing down on your chest. I thought about him every single day. I wonder what he looked like now. Did he still have that same smile? Did he still drink his coffee with too much sugar? Did he ever think of me? I wondered if he was happy. That's all I really wanted. For him to be happy. Even if that happiness didn't include me. One night, about 4 months ago, something changed. I was sitting by the phone as usual. The tea was cold. The clock showed 8:45. I was about to give up for the night when I heard a sound outside, a car door closing. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I heard footsteps on the porch. Slow, hesitant. My heart started pounding. I stood up. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. It was him, Michael, standing on my porch, older, thinner, tired looking, but it was him. I opened the door so fast I almost tripped. We stood there staring at each other. I wanted to run to him. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to scream and cry and ask him where he'd been. But I couldn't move. I was frozen. He spoke first. "Hi, Mom." His voice cracked, and that's when I saw the tears in his eyes. I didn't ask questions. I just opened my arms. He fell into them like a child. He was taller than me now, but in that moment, he felt small. He cried into my shoulder, deep, shaking sobs. I held him tight. I stroked his hair. I whispered, "It's okay. You're home. You're home." We stood like that for a long time. Later, we sat in the kitchen. I made him tea. He held the cup with both hands, like he used to when he was little. He looked around the room, at the same table, the same curtains, the same picture of his father on the wall. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said finally. "I'm so sorry." I didn't say anything. I just listened. He told me everything. How college overwhelmed him. How he felt like he was drowning. How he got his first job and worked 80-hour weeks trying to prove himself. How he felt like a failure every time he thought about calling me because he hadn't called in so long. How the guilt grew so big it became a wall he couldn't climb over. "I wanted to be successful before I came back," he said. "I wanted to come back and show you I made it. I wanted you to be proud. But I kept failing. I kept struggling. And the longer I stayed away, the harder it was to come back." He looked at me with those same eyes he had as a boy. "I thought you'd be angry. I thought you'd hate me." I reached across the table and took his hand. "Michael," I said softly, "I could never hate you. You're my son. I've loved you every single day, even in the silence, even in the not knowing. I just wanted you to be okay." He started crying again. "So did I. I'm not successful, Mom," he whispered. "I don't have it all figured out. I'm still struggling." I squeezed his hand tighter. "You don't have to be successful for me to love you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be you. That's all I ever wanted." We talked until 2 a.m. We cried. We laughed. We remembered. He told me about his life, his struggles, his fears. I told him about the waiting, the phone calls I imagined, the letters I wrote. He stayed the night, in his old room, in his old bed. The next morning, I made him pancakes. Michael didn't move back home. He has his own life, his own path. But he calls now, every Sunday at 8 o'clock, sometimes more. We talk about everything and nothing. He tells me about his week. I tell him about my garden. And I don't wait by the phone anymore with that heavy feeling in my chest. Now, when 8 o'clock comes, I smile, because I know the phone will ring, and I'll hear my son's voice. And for those few minutes, the world feels right again. I learned something through all of this. Love doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't require constant contact. It doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes love is just waiting, just hoping, just keeping the door open. Because you never know when someone you love might need to come home. And when they do, you'll be there, with open arms, with forgiveness, with the same love you've always had. That's what parents do. We wait, we hope, we love, even in the silence, even in the dark, even when it hurts. We never stop being parents. We never stop caring. And sometimes, if we're lucky, the waiting ends, and the voice we've been longing to hear finally comes home. This is a fictional story created for emotional storytelling purposes.